The art of divine indifference. Have you ever noticed how the world seems to get louder the more you try to be heard? It is a strange, almost cruel phenomenon. You defend your name against a lie, and the lie grows wings. You chase after someone who refuses to see your value, and they only run faster. You demand justice for a betrayal, and suddenly you are the one who looks desperate, while the offender walks away untouched. Why is it that our most frantic attempts to fix things often leave them more shattered than before? The answer is quiet. It is heavy, and it is the one thing most people are terrified of: silence. True silence isn't a void, it is a mirror. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, and stop reacting, you aren't giving up. You are simply stepping out of the way so that the natural laws of the universe, what the ancients called the logos, and what many today call karma, can finally find their target. Think of a muddy pond. If you jump in and thrash around to clear the water, you only stir up more silt. You make it murkier. But if you stand on the bank, if you remain absolutely still, the mud settles, the water clears, the truth reveals itself. The Stoics understood that we do not control the tongues of others, but we own the ears that listen. They knew that the most powerful thing you can do when faced with chaos is to become a fortress of stillness. Because while they're busy provoking, deceiving, and manipulating, they are building their own cage. And when you choose silence, you hand them the keys to their own consequences. We often think of karma as a distant judgment, but karma is simply the echo of a person's own energy. What they send out must, by the laws of nature, return. So when do you step back? When do you let the echo do the work that your words never could? Stay with me, because these 7 moments of silence are not about weakness. They are about the moment you reclaim your power and let the universe write the final chapter. 1. When the lie is crafted to destroy you. There is a specific, sharp kind of sting that comes when someone takes your name and twists it into a shape you don't recognize. Maybe it's a workplace rumor. Maybe it's a smear campaign after a breakup. Your first instinct is a fire in your chest. You want to gather evidence. You want to call every mutual friend. You want to scream the truth until your throat is raw. But here is the harsh psychological reality. Those who are ready to believe a lie without hearing your side were never your people. And the person spreading the lie? They aren't looking for a debate. They aren't looking for the facts. They are looking for a reaction. They want to see you rattled. They want to see you emotional. In the eyes of a judging world, an emotional defense often looks like guilt. The more you struggle, the more you look like you have something to hide. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius once observed, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." If someone is a liar, and you become a frantic, angry defender, you have entered their arena. You are now playing by their rules. You have allowed their poison to dictate your pulse. When you remain silent, you leave the lie with nowhere to go. A fire with no oxygen eventually dies out. By refusing to fuel the drama, you allow the liar to eventually trip over their own web. Patterns always repeat. Someone who lies about you is almost certainly lying to others. Let the truth be a slow-moving river. It may not arrive today. It may not arrive with the speed of a social media post. But truth is the only thing in this universe that doesn't require maintenance. A lie needs constant energy, constant spinning, and constant updating to stay alive. Let them get tired. Your silence is the ultimate proof of your integrity. It says, "My character is not up for negotiation." 2. When trust is shaded by betrayal. Betrayal is a unique kind of grief. It's the shock of realizing that the person you gave a map to your heart used it to find the most vulnerable spots. The natural human response is to demand an explanation. You want to look them in the eye and ask, why? We want a confession. We want them to see the blood on their hands. We want them to feel the weight of the bridge they just burned. But here is a truth that most people take a lifetime to learn. A person who was capable of betraying you has already justified it in their own mind long before they acted. They have made you the villain in their story so they can feel like the hero in theirs. If you argue, you give them more material to use against you. If you cry, they see your pain as a burden they want to avoid. If you seek revenge, you tie your soul to theirs for another cycle of pain. Stoicism teaches us that we are only ever given people on loan. Our friends, our partners, our family, they are not ours to own. When the loan is called in, even through the ugly act of betrayal, we must return them to the universe without losing our own center. Walking away in total, absolute silence is the loudest message you can send. It says, you are no longer worth my words. You no longer have access to my inner world. Indifference is far more haunting than anger. Anger shows you still care. Anger shows there is still a thread connecting you. But silence? Silence is the sound of a door being locked from the inside. Let karma handle the reconciliation. They will eventually have to live with themselves in the quiet hours of the night, knowing they traded a diamond for a piece of glass. And that is a far heavier punishment than any insult you could ever throw. 3. When someone insults your character. We live in an age of ego. Everyone has an opinion, and many feel entitled to throw those opinions at you, like stones. Whether it's a backhanded compliment, a public jab, or a cruel remark disguised as just being honest, an insult is a test. It is an invitation to a low-level war. Most people think that if they don't fire back, they look weak. They think that silence is a sign of surrender. But look closer. When someone insults you, they are essentially saying, I have the power to make you lose your temper. I have the power to change your mood. If you snap back, you are agreeing with them. You are handing them the remote control to your emotions. You are saying, yes, you are right. You do control me. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus used to say that if someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself. Instead, smile and say, he must not know my other faults, or he would have mentioned those as well. There is a massive power in that kind of detachment. When you meet an insult with silence or a calm, indifferent gaze, you turn the weapon back on the attacker. You show them that their words have no currency in your kingdom. Imagine a person throwing a ball at a wall. If the wall is soft, the ball sinks in. If the wall is stone, the ball bounces back and hits the thrower. Be the stone. Let their negativity stay with them. If you don't accept the gift of their insult, it still belongs to the person who tried to give it to you. Your silence isn't a lack of words, it's a presence of self. It is the sound of a person who knows exactly who they are, and therefore does not need it to hear it from someone who is hurting.
The strength of the unshaken. 4. When they play the victim to mask their malice. There is a specific, exhausting type of person who uses their own tears as a weapon. You know this person. They are the ones who start the fire, but as soon as the smoke rises, they scream that they are the ones choking. They twist the timeline. They leave out the part where they provoked you. They present a curated version of reality where they are the perpetual martyr and you are the cold-hearted aggressor. It is a trap. A psychological maze. The more you try to point out the facts, the more aggressive you appear to the outside world. The more you bring receipts, the more obsessed you look. They want you to chase them into the mud because they know how to swim in it and you don't. But here is what the Stoics understood about the nature of truth. It is like the sun.
You can hide it under a cloud for a few hours, but you cannot stop it from rising. When someone plays the victim, they are fishing for an audience. They need your reaction to validate their performance. If you get angry, they point and say, "See, I told you they were the problem." By choosing silence, you starve the performance of its oxygen. You must realize that you are not responsible for correcting every false perception. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you because your villainy serves their narrative. Let them have their story. When you refuse to play your role in their script, the story falls apart. Over time, the world notices a pattern. They notice that this person always has a villain in every chapter of their life. Eventually, the audience gets tired. The pity dries up. Your silence is a declaration of independence. It says, "I will not participate in a lie, even if the lie is about me." Trust that the weight of their own deception will eventually become too heavy for them to carry. Karma isn't just about punishment. It's about the inevitable collapse of things that aren't built on truth. Let the collapse happen in its own time. You have better things to do than hold up a crumbling wall. 5. When your worth is treated as an option. We have all been there. You give your best. You show up when it's inconvenient. You offer your loyalty, your time, and your heart. And in return, you get the leftovers. You get the text messages that only come when they need something. You get the half-hearted thank you, or worse, the total silence that implies your presence is a given. You are treated like a backup plan, a safety net for when their preferred options fail. The human ego wants to fight for a higher rank. It wants to prove, "Look at how much I do. Look at how valuable I am." But you cannot negotiate someone into valuing you. Value is not a transaction. It is a recognition. If they don't see it, no amount of proving will open their eyes. In fact, the more you try to prove your worth, the more you signal that you don't believe it in yourself. Stoicism teaches us the art of the clean break. If you find yourself in a place where your presence isn't celebrated, your only logical move is to make your absence felt. Not out of spite, not as a game of hard to get, but as an act of profound self-respect. Silence in this moment is the ultimate boundary. When you stop reaching out, stop over-delivering, and stop filling the gaps they leave behind, you create a vacuum. And a vacuum demands to be filled. In that sudden quiet, they are forced to confront the reality of what life looks like without your light. For the first time, they see the hole you left behind. Some will realize what they lost and try to crawl back. Others will simply let you go. Either way, you win, because you have stopped wasting your most precious resource, your life force, on someone who treated it like a bargain bin find. Silence is how you tell the universe you are ready for someone who doesn't need to lose you to value you. 6. When the goal is pure provocation. There is a certain type of person who walks through life with a hook, looking for a mouth to catch. They don't want a conversation. They don't want to learn. They want a rise. They poke at your insecurities. They insult your passions, or they challenge your peace with mindless, petty jabs. They are looking for a spark so they can feel the warmth of the fire. If you give them a reaction, even a calm defense, you have let them win. You have allowed a person you likely don't even respect to dictate the chemistry of your brain. You have let them pull you out of your stoic fortress and into the chaotic street. Think of a barking dog behind a fence. If you stop and bark back, who is the more foolish? The dog, who is simply acting on instinct, or you, who has forgotten your own dignity? The most devastating thing you can do to a provocateur is to show them that they are invisible. Not pretending to ignore them while boiling inside, but truly, deeply not caring. When they throw their best insult and you respond with a blank stare or a slight nod of acknowledgement before returning to your book, you have stripped them of their only power.
You have shown them that they don't even have the ability to move the needle of your mood. This is the Stoic silence. It is the silence of a mountain watching a storm pass. The storm can scream, it can throw lightning, it can pour rain, but when the clouds clear, the mountain is still there, unmoved, unchanged. Karma for the provocateur is the realization that they are shouting into a void. Their negativity has nowhere to land, so it stays with them. It rots in their own pockets. By staying silent, you remain clean. Let them carry their own trash.
The final reckoning of the soul. 7. When they regret losing you. The silence of the final chapter. There is a moment that almost always arrives, though it rarely happens on our timeline. It is the moment of the great realization. It happens to the friend who walked away when things got tough. It happens to the partner who thought the grass was greener elsewhere. It happens to the employer who thought you were replaceable. Eventually, the novelty of their new path wears off, the ego boost of their freedom fades, and in the cold, quiet reality of their everyday life, they begin to notice the shape of the hole you left behind. They remember the loyalty that didn't ask for a price tag. They remember the peace you brought into a room. And that is when the messages start. The checking in, the "I've been thinking about you," the half apology that is really just an attempt to see if the door is still unlocked. This is the hardest time to stay silent, because a part of you, the part that was hurt, wants to scream, "I told you so." Another part wants to explain exactly how much they hurt you, just so they have to carry that guilt. But if you speak now, you release the pressure. You give them a way to feel better about themselves. You provide them with the closure they are seeking for their own peace of mind. The Stoic knows that true power isn't in having the last word. It's in realizing that words are no longer necessary. If someone only realizes your worth after they have lost you, they never truly valued you. They only valued the service you provided. If they had to experience your absence to understand your presence, then they were never looking at you with clear eyes to begin with. Your silence in this final stage is the ultimate teacher. When you don't reply, when you don't acknowledge the regret, when you simply continue building your own life as if they are a character in a book you finished years ago, that is when karma completes its cycle. They are forced to sit with their own choices. They are forced to own the consequences of their actions without you acting as their emotional cushion. Let them wonder. Let them feel the weight. Let them realize that some bridges once burned leave a gap that no amount of regret can cross. You are not being cruel. You are being honest. You are honoring the person you have become by not inviting back the person who didn't respect who you were. The quiet wisdom of the mountain. We live in a world that tells us to speak up, to own our truth, and to never let anyone get the last word. We are taught that silence is a sign of being beaten. But look at the most powerful forces in nature. The sun doesn't scream to prove it's hot, it just shines. The ocean doesn't argue with the shore, it just moves. The mountain doesn't defend its height against the wind, it just stands. Stoicism isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It is about realizing that your energy is a finite, sacred resource. Every time you argue with a fool, every time you defend yourself to a liar, every time you beg for a seat at a table where you aren't wanted, you are leaking that energy. You are giving away bits of your soul to people who will only use them to build a fire to burn you. Karma is not a vengeful God sitting in the clouds. Karma is the simple mathematical reality that a person's character is their fate. A person who lies will eventually live in a world where no one trusts them, including themselves. A person who betrays will eventually live in a world of isolation. You don't need to push them into the abyss. Their own feet are already taking them there. Your only job is to ensure they don't pull you down with them.
The next time you feel that fire in your throat, that urge to set the record straight, or make them understand, take a breath. Ask yourself, does this person deserve my words, or do they deserve my silence? Remember that the most profound things are often said when nothing is spoken at all. Your silence is your dignity. Your silence is your boundary. Your silence is the space where your new life begins. Let the world be loud. Let the drama swirl. Let the lies travel halfway around the world. You stay grounded. You stay still. Because at the end of the day, the only person you have to face in the mirror is the one who chose peace over being right. And in that reflection, you will find a person who is truly, finally, free.